What's up? Today's Wednesday. I'm gonna have to pay my cell phone bill. I'm supposed to be meeting this girl later today because got them clouds and anytime you try to make a form of engagement, word of advice to you younger guys, anytime you make a form of engagement, you need to be careful because if it's raining, you know how long difficult that's gonna be. So we'll see how that play out. Gotta figure all that out. Now, this YouTube video is part 2. Sex game, how to be valuable, part 2. Apparently the first one was so well received that it's broken 55 views. I'm pretty sure it's going to be 60 views by noon today. So apparently y'all must have loved the video. I guess y'all want me to make 3 videos of the series of explaining what happens in the sex dating market and why a lot of men are angry and frustrated, and I guess you must want me to give you the answers. I'm going to try to give y'all the best answers possible. I'm not saying they're 100% actual answers. I mean, they are actual answers, but for something to be absolutely 100%, it has to be absolute. So I would probably say you're probably going to get 75, 85, maybe 90%. As that might be as far as I could push. Because, like I said in yesterday's video, everybody tries to throw out their own interpretation of what they think is actually correct. And the vast majority of us as men, we get confused because we don't know who's actually telling the truth and who's just doing it just because they want money. Now, let's pick up where we left off. Now, in part 1, it talked about what happens if you get stereotyped as the bad boy, the player, the man whore, the whoremonger who likes whores. Because that's what it leads to when they say, in order for you to physically, sexually attract one woman, you're going to have to mess with multiple women just to get the attention of the other one. And I did say there's a small percentage of guys that can pull that off. The rest of us, on the other hand, not going to be able to do that if you're in the 80%. I already made videos in the past about the 80-20% rule. I'm not going to do that again. Alright, now let's focus on something that's going to be interesting. Let's talk about what other ways there is to get value. Alright, road trips. There are only 3 reasons why most men go on road trips. The first one is he complains he can't get women to say yes to lunch and dinner or to a cup of coffee. So he believes that going on road trips is the answer. And I've always said you can go on to a road trip, but you got to learn how to speak some multiple languages. Now, most men want to know if I'm valuable, when do people notice? Well, I got some good news and I got some bad news. The good news is you do have to become valuable. The bad news is, when you do become valuable, the first problem you have is you don't even know you're valuable because no one's telling you you're valuable. Think about it. A prime example of this is sports. When you first get onto a basketball team, whether it's college basketball, college football, or the pros, a lot of guys complain that they be sitting the bench and they don't get no playing time. What they're really complaining is, how can I show that I have value on the team if the coach don't ever let me get off the bench to play? And that happens, and sometimes in sports they'll say, I demand a trade. I demand a trade because you won't let me show you my value. You won't let me show you how valuable I am to the basketball team or football team. I'm talking about if it's college basketball, college football. If it's pro basketball, pro football, it's the same problem, the same issue. The coach got all these players. He has all these diverse personalities, and only a few people can get off the bench and show their talent. They can show their worth, their value. That happens a lot in college sports and pro sports. Now, let's put this into the perspective of the dating game. The first problem you're going to have as a man is that you're going to get rejected a whole lot. And rejection actually leads to becoming a valuable person because you're going to have to put in the work. Now, most men don't know when they're valuable, and most men don't know that when they first become valuable, most of us, including myself, this happened to me like at least 4 times, so I can tell it to you from personal experience, the answer. Even when you first become valuable, whether it's in sports, whether it's at work, in a certain category, even when you first become valuable, you're still going to get rejection. Just because you went from I have no value to low value to value, it doesn't mean you're not going to stop getting rejected. What that means is you're still going to get rejected. It's just not going to happen as much. And the reason why I say it's not going to happen as much is because it's going to be limited. There's going to be a limited time for you to get rejection. What I mean is when you first become valuable, you will be under the pretense that finally I ain't going to get rejected no more. But then you do. Let's say you try to get a job at Disneyland. And let's say for 6 years you fill out 6 applications in 6 years, and for 6 years in a row they reject your application. Now, you graduated from high school, you graduated from college, you got 2 college degrees, you got a resume, you got a cover page, a cover letter, you got a letter of recommendation, you got reference, but for 6 years, you keep applying to Disneyland and they keep rejecting your application. For 6 years, they keep rejecting your application. But you apply to Six Flags Magic Mountain, or you apply to Universal Studios, and they accept your applications. But you wanted Disneyland. I'm just giving you an example. Well, it's the same thing with women. You might have your mind set on one girl, and no matter how many times you have your mind set on that one girl, you're going to continuously keep facing rejection. And then when you decide to talk to another girl, for whatever reason, you get that phone number. And I already told you, just because you get a phone number or a Facebook, that doesn't necessarily guarantee 100% victory. That's what it's called. It's just the start in the game. It's not the final stage in the game. It's the first stage, the start of a game. It takes a while. And when you first become valuable, not everyone's going to see your value, okay? Not everyone's going to see it. Not everybody is going to witness it. And when they're not going to see or witness it, it can take a while. Let's do some math. It could take the shortest timetable for somebody noticing your value is probably 3 to 5 years. That's like the shortest timetable ever. 3 to 5 years is the shortest timetable if anybody sees your value in work, sports, or at the gym. If you're a filmmaker, it could take a while. The longest timetable ever is probably 10 to 15 years. The longest timetable. Now, the reason why I'm throwing in some math, some numbers here, is because it can take that long for someone to see. And I'm talking about sex dating and the sex dating market. It can take a while for people to see that you got a house, an apartment. Because when you first buy your house, not everybody knows you have a house. When you first buy an apartment, not everybody knows you have an apartment. When you first get a car or a truck or a motorcycle, not everybody notices it. It's the same thing if you were to get looks, money, and status. You go to the gym and you've been going to the gym for 5 years. Not everyone's going to see that you're in athletic shape. Not everybody's going to see your fitness level. If you get 2 jobs or 3 jobs, or you get your own company, not everyone is going to see that. So it could take 3 years, 5 years. It could be 10 years. It could be 15 years. Somebody might say, what if it takes 20 years? Yes, there are some cases where it can take 20 years for someone to see the value. And the reason for that is, there's an old saying, don't ever put your eggs in one basket. If something sounds too good to be true, it's because it's probably too good to be true. So even if you say, I am the man, I have everything, not everyone's going to 100% buy into that idea. Even if you are the real McCoy, there are going to be some people that are going to question it. And I'm not just talking about women here. Because if you think this video is about me just saying women this and women that, then you might need to get some white powder and slap yourself 10 times, because I just told you jobs do this all the time. Corporations do this all the time. Even in sports, they do this. So it ain't just women. It's in general. You got guys that complain on a football team that they've been on a football team for 5 years and the coach won't give them no playing time. So after 5 years, they go and they get traded to another football team that will give them playing time. So I already told you it happens in college sports and pro sports, and it happens in the world of jobs. Now, let's talk about the other ways on how to become valuable. Sometimes you might have to leave your city and state. Sometimes you might have to go to another city in another state. Now, let's say you go to 5 different cities in 5 different states. Doesn't matter if they're in order or not in order. You can pick something at random. You can say New York, Los Angeles, Miami, Chicago. You can go to Dallas, Houston. You can go to any city or state, right? Let's say you might have to go to 5 cities or 5 states before anybody sees the appreciation of your value. You might have to go to 10, maybe 15, 20 different cities before somebody notices it. I'm just trying to explain to you what happens when you first get value. Because first problem you got is you don't even know when you become valuable. And then it comes in different forms. It's not the same for everybody. A prime example is this. Let's say somebody always asks you for directions. And you be saying to yourself, why every time somebody pop up on a bus or on a minivan or a car or a truck, they always ask me for instructions? Well, that might be one way on how you become valuable. Another one is the computer breaks down, and you might understand the applications of how the computer is run, and somebody might need some assistance with the computer, so you end up becoming the guy who knows how the computer works. So you become valuable because you know technology. Now, let's talk about what happens when you max out. Sometimes when you first become valuable, you're going to get rejected at least 5 times, 10, 15, 20 times. You're going to get rejection. And I'm not just talking about women. When you try to go to Disneyland, they might reject your application. You might try to go to Costco's. You might try to get a job at Target or Best Buy. And you have the background for those jobs at Best Buy and Target, and for whatever reasons, explained or not explained, whether you're the right person for the job or not, they might reject your application every single year for 6 years. And you might be wondering why you keep rejecting my application for 6 years. It could be somebody just don't think you're the right fit, even though your applications on the paper say you are. Everything looks good on paper is the catchphrase in sports. Until we see it in person, then it don't look that good. So, yeah, it can take a while for someone to notice your value. Sometimes you might have to donate blood to the American Red Cross. You might have to donate money to the Children's Foundation. You might have to do something to gain some type of value. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take you 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Sometimes you might have to go to a foreign country and give food and water to 10,000 people in Africa, and then someone else that's a multi-billionaire, a multi-millionaire outside the United States might see that and recognize that and say, I want you to work for me. Every time there's a natural disaster, I'll pay you $5,000, $10,000 to get an airplane and go to different countries and give poor people food and water. That might bring your value up. You might have to do that. And then sometimes you might say, well, I want to be a businessman. Now let's talk about that. Some guys think that if they become an entrepreneur, their own boss, that brings value. And it does. It's the most popular one. Problem is, you would have to go back to college and get another college degree, save some money up, get a loan from the bank, and then start your own business, which is very valuable. A lot of companies and women find that very attractive. But here's the thing. Not every guy can become a businessman and become their own boss successfully. Now, order to do that, you would have had to had 3 jobs or 5 jobs to understand the job market, so that when you do become your own boss and have your own company, you ain't got no one to answer to because you're your own boss, and that brings value. But here's where that can kind of backfire. The reason why a lot of men try to become their own boss is because they know they can get the attention of black women, white women, and Mexican women. And then when these women reject them, these guys get angry and furious because they thought that all I had to do was become my own boss and everything would be perfectly just fine. And what did I just say 10 or 15 minutes ago in this video? When you first become valuable, you don't know you're valuable. That's your first problem. Your second problem when you become valuable is that not everybody is going to 100% accept it. Not everyone's going to jump on a board and buy into the idea of your system. You're going to have some companies, they're going to go, no, thank you, I'm okay. You're going to get some women that's going to go, no, thank you, I'm okay. You're going to even get some men that are going to say, I'm not interested in being your business partner. You're going to get some men that are going to go, nah, man, I'm cool, I'm good. But we could be partners. We can make money. No, I'm good, man, I'm cool. You're going to get some men that's going to reject your business proposal. So don't be thinking it's just women, okay? It ain't just women. You got guys that say, no, I ain't trying to be your business partner. And sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes there are cases where you see the same guy that you try to become business partners with, and he's business partners with someone else, but didn't want to be your business partner. And it could be 10 or 15 years later that guy comes back to you and say, do you want to be business partners? And you probably might have that look on your face like, oh, now you want to be business partners, and it's 10 to 15 years later. And that's because in the beginning, they couldn't buy into the idea. So part 2, I didn't want to make this video too long or too short because I said it was going to be 3 videos. Each video is going to be breaking down and examining the history of how to be valuable. And the reason why I'm saying that, you can go to a foreign country and someone can give you a business contract, and then that makes people from the United States, I'm talking about women and companies, pay attention to you. So part 2 is to try to explain the different ways on how you become valuable. And one of the first main 2 problems you're going to have, the first problem you're going to have is you don't even know you're valuable. And then when you do become valuable, you're going to keep getting rejected.